Together, Jean and Glenn Peterson have given over 60 years of service to the Amesbury Public Schools. As fifth grade teachers, volunteers, and mentors, they have touched the lives of countless children and other educators with their passion and devotion to education. Jean and Glenn grew up in Beverly and met in kindergarten at the First Baptist Church Sunday School. They were in some of the same classes in high school. Jean fondly remembers a chemistry class where Glenn ended up doing more of his share of the work as she and a girlfriend would linger over lunch. They both attended Salem State College and started to date their sophomore year. They were married in 1970 in the same church where they had first met in Sunday school.
They were just always there for us, both being teachers. My mom stayed home with us, and I can remember sitting underneath the tree at the corner of the yard waiting for Dad to come home. He had the brown paper bag that he called his briefcase that had all of his schoolwork in it, his papers that he would correct. I can remember him sitting at the bottom of the stairs every night correcting those papers.
As parents, they were extremely great role models. They continue to be great role models for us. I just remember them and being teachers, and my mom being home with us, and my dad going up the hill to go to Cashman School, walking up the hill. We called it Daddy's Hill. As he walked up the hill going to school with his brown sack, and just always being there for us after school, before school.
As an enthusiastic math teacher at the Amesbury Middle School for 32 years, Glenn was known for using hands-on manipulative activities to motivate his students. Glenn worked tirelessly with students on an individual level to make sure they got the help they needed.
I went to school for nursing when I first graduated from high school, and I didn't like it, so they guided me in the right direction of, well, we always thought you'd be a great teacher. So I said, okay, I'll do that. That sounds, I think I didn't want to do it because both of them were teachers, so I was trying to do something different, but I ended up, my dad was a math teacher, I'm a math teacher, my brother's a math teacher, so it's kind of in the family.
I went into business first, didn't like it, and I ended up following in their footsteps after a few years and went back into education. And I think it's more of the, seeing them grow up in what they did and how they loved it so much. I wanted to at least try it, and I love it just as much as they do.
Although his passion is for math, Glenn strongly believes in children learning through song and activity. Glenn was honored as the 1991 Rotary Educator of the Year and won the first annual AMS Teacher Idol contest.
My first experience singing with AMS Idol was as a backup singer for Glenn's performance of YMCA, and I really think that was a classic moment in AMS Idol history.
Well, the first year he did it, we went down and we all saw his first performance, but then he's done it every year since then.
I think that Glenn really believes that singing really connects to learning, and so he loves to come in and do songs with the kids, and they eat it up.
He participated in Colonial Day by showing up in colonial attire and spending the afternoon constructing yarn dolls and whirligigs. He also led monthly sing-alongs and organized the end-of-the-year kindergarten show. About 30 years ago, Glenn helped establish an outdoor camp experience for fifth graders. The first trip was to Otter Lake, then Camp Sargent, and continues today at Camp Borndale.
He used to come in during Colonial Day, and he would just sit down and he would teach the kids how to make whirligigs and sheep, and of course we had to have black sheep to make the black socks, and he loves learning and he loves teaching.
Since his retirement, Glenn has continued his dedication to this rite of passage for fifth graders as he joins them each year in Plymouth. Glenn also still volunteers with the fifth graders, providing extra help to students, and still participates in the AMS Idol contest. Jean's passion is literacy. Her classroom shelves were overflowing with books for her students. Jean dove headfirst into the books she chose for those students, researching the background, time period, and the author.
When you think of Jean, you think of a book. You have to. Everything is about reading, and she did such a wonderful job of incorporating that into all of her lessons, into social studies, and then influencing other teachers to to use reading for their subject in ways that you might not have thought of before.
We're in a book club together, and I know Jean probably prefers historical fiction, but it doesn't matter what the genre is. If we're reading a book, Jean will always research it. She always takes it that step further. Either it's something about the author, or did you know, as a matter of fact, this part of the story is actually true, this part is not. She looks into the history behind things and into the authors behind the books.
She was always eager to try out new strategies for learning across the disciplines, including instituting Colonial Day, where students dressed up in colonial attire and were given new identities as immigrants coming through Ellis Island. Not only was Jean dedicated to her students, but she was, and continues to be, a role model for other teachers.
We would do lessons together, and she would always incorporate the reading into our science lessons, and she very much liked to work as a co-teacher. That influenced me to want to do that with other teachers too.
Well, it's her enthusiasm for learning and for teaching, and her understanding of how people learn, and she just latches onto that and expands your own learning.
Her co-workers would fondly refer to her as the CEO of the 5th grade, due to her ability to stay calm and help guide her fellow teachers through tough times. Since her retirement, Jean has served as a reading implementation specialist for the Amesbury Middle School, working closely with the Teaching and Learning Alliance. In this role, she helps other teachers implement strategies to improve student reading in all grade levels. She is involved in every research project that happens in the library. She can be found taking notes and then debriefing teachers with her non-judgmental approach. Both Jean and Glenn were given Teacher Excellence Awards by their peers. The Amesbury schools are so fortunate to have had a couple who chose to dedicate their lives to the youth of this town. Glenn and Jean have 3 children, John, David, and Beth, as well as 3 grandchildren. Besides volunteering, they are enjoying retirement by hiking, kayaking, and by traveling to cheer on their children as they compete in marathons across the country. Glenn, of course, can be found playing the banjo, and Jean reading a good book.
They're always helping out in the schools. Their faces are around in the community all the time. My dad actually comes in to help me with my times facts with my students. I know he does that in the middle school in Amesbury too. He's sang in my daughter's classroom. He's sang in all of the other classrooms, even if she's not in there. He's just with all of the kids all the time. My mom still goes into the middle school, and she volunteers in my daughter's classroom too. They both go on any field trip that she's involved in, and just helping out in the schools in any way that they can.
I think they are very deserving of this and community recognition because of what they give back.
Whether she's being paid for or not, she still goes down to the middle school, I would say at least 2 or 3 times a week to help out with whether it's an initiative that's going on with the English program or something else. She's just always going down there and doing that. And my dad, he must have something going on daily in the school system where he's going to do times facts, or he's going to sing with the younger kids, whether it's people he knows or people he doesn't know. He's just always volunteering his time. It's, I guess, what I would strive to be in my retirement.
They're just a great couple and a great asset to Amesbury, and they should be recognized for just they're just so giving to the schools in a very quiet. They don't want attention. They just do it out of the love of the community.
For their dedication to students and teachers of Amesbury, AEFI welcomes Glenn and Jean Peterson into its Hall of Honor.